trying to feed me. We jump into this week's Little Turtle Shop of Horrors as we watch It Came From Beneath the Sewers. I'm Dan.
And I'm Bryan.
And this is Duderonomy.
So, what a great way to kick that off, because without giving up too much, spoilers ahead, I do want to say that this entire endeavor of ours has been a really good refresher to me. Like I mentioned before, like I have not revisited the 1987 cartoon in a very long time. Neither of you.
Nope.
So this really kind of helps me round out a lot of my encyclopedic knowledge and stoke my Ninja Turtles ego, because I know all things turtles, and now I'm just confirming it. But I will say there were a few elements in this episode specifically that I did not fully recall in my lore headspace. And we'll get to that a little later. But I did want to start doing something. I want us to start tracking the writers.
Okay.
So this episode is written by Larry Parr, and I have not yet retroactively gone back to look at the other episodes we've watched so far, but I know there's a rotating head writer on this show, like many shows. Larry, go back to your day job, because a writer you are not. Even for a very silly kid show, I'm putting
calling you out.
I'm putting it right up front. This one,
you heard it here first, folks.
This was not a great episode.
I was just like, I'm looking back on it, and I obviously rewatched the episode, and I do not remember this one at all. It comes as no surprise to me now that when we watched last week's episode, I completely forgot what was going to happen and thought it was like a self-contained episode and not like a continuation of the Crystals of Zarnoth, or however you say it.
I do like how it essentially picks right back up where we left off in the last episode, where they're hunting for the Eye of Sarnath. Now, it has been a couple weeks since you and I have recorded, but that's, non-chronological here. It was good. It was enough to spark my memory and be like, oh yeah, we're in the middle of something here.
Absolutely. It is nice that they pick right back up and they're like, all right, we got this tracking crystal. We're just on the job. We're trying to find the next thing. I think it's hilarious that the first 20 seconds of the show are just really the art department flexing their Manhattan is a shithole. Yeah,
I mean, I will give them that much. This episode had a lot of really great environmental shots, really great background matte painting work. It worked out really well. The episode looked nice. Good use of colors.
Yeah.
Just really stupid jokes in this one.
One of the ongoing things that we've been pointing out in all of these episodes, but really comes to the forefront in this one, I think, is the idea that the turtles are just awful ninjas, that they don't really try and hide as much as they are concerned. They talk about how humans won't accept them, but pretty much everything we've seen that is not an old woman with a machine gun does not care about them at all.
There's so many massive contradictions in this one. I couldn't even pick a worst ninjas ever moment.
But when you see the opening of the episode and the city looks like this, you can kind of tell that they don't care if there's 4 huge turtles walking around. There's just burnt out garbage on the street.
It was, Koch era New York. What do you want?
This is the least of their problems.
I mean, okay, so we open with them in the party wagon. They're driving in the party wagon, and they're all looking for the crystal shards with the Eye of Sarnath. 4 turtles that have been well established as short and stocky in stature, plus April in the front seat. How is that street legal?
It was the widest van.
Does it take up 2 full lanes? Because that's 4 fat boys and a skinny lady. But also, wouldn't it be safer in they're driving through I don't know, it's got to be Brooklyn, right? They're near the docks.
They are driving down the middle of the road. There's at least one shot where they are just on the yellow line.
They never obey the laws of traffic, and there's never any other traffic.
They can't fit in a single lane. You're right.
It feels like an old Western, where the streets are abandoned, you got a tumbleweed spinning by, and the only thing on the road is the turtles. So anyways, we arrive at a carnival as they're following the signal coming from the Eye of Sarnath. But
of course,
I don't know about you, but they don't really set up carnivals in New York City, so am I just going to call this Coney Island for the sake of our own edification?
It's got to be, right? I think you're right with it. it's probably Brooklyn. They're near the docks. Like, they had a bunch of different dock workers and all that fun stuff. And now here's a carnival, and they probably just didn't even want to try and be like, oh, let's. I'm sure there's some kind of rights that Coney Island owes. Obviously it's a location, but like the park itself that they didn't want to spend money on.
Well, you got to wonder, like, if it was trademarked or something. But I think they just thought kids were too dumb to know what Coney Island was, and they're probably right in a lot of cases. Because I mean, it's a public space, and it's been name dropped in other media before. So
yeah,
it was just funny, but it was also an excuse for them to have a little freedom with it. Because last time I checked, Coney Island doesn't have a 3-ring circus in it.
Well, I mean, it was pretty well known for the sideshow that happened, so there are references to that in the episode.
But it doesn't have a giant tent.
No.
Like an enormous red and white striped cliche tent sticking out the middle of it.
That's like the funniest thing about this concept, that like, oh, it's just at a carnival, because like, I mean, it could have been a street fair. Like, there's 100 street fairs all year. Coney Island, sure, like I buy that. Hell, it even could have been like a circus. Like, a whole bunch of circuses used to travel into Manhattan all the time.
They just called it Carnival. I think they're just trying to appeal to a mass audience that isn't necessarily familiar with how New York City works.
Yeah, that is fair. I also, because at least I am super nitpicky on this show, I thought they spelled carnival wrong. They didn't, but they did spell welcome wrong.
Really?
It says welcome. Wellcome.
Yeah, oh my God, you're kidding me. I have to look that up now. Yep, you're right. Wow. Wow. Okay. Make mental note of that, because we're going to come back to it later. There's a note I have about halfway through the episode that is somehow relevant to that now. Just make a mental note.
All right, yeah.
So we're at Coney Island. The turtles are all about just going in and grabbing the crystal, but it's a carnival in broad daylight.
Yeah, a lot of people. Established as soon as the screen wipes past the carnival, there's a long line, and they're just marching right on up. Not a care in the world.
Well, not if April has her way, because she's trying to stop them.
Yeah, she's the only smart one.
Well, she's got logic on her side, but also, like, the turtles win the argument, and they actually prove her wrong. I really love Raph's joke and takeaway from it, where she goes, "You can't go in there. You're turtles." And Raph says,
"So that's why I'm green." I always thought it was something I ate.
It's just that's peak Rob Paulson for you. Just like, mwah, chef's kiss.
That is a good one. And Donnie has the reference that I brought up before of being like, it's cool. We'll just tell them we're part of the sideshow.
No, but okay. So on that note, if they want to be part of the sideshow, they don't even have to try. Because, I mean, when's the last time you went to a quote-unquote carnival? Just a regular carnival?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's coming to mind.
So the whole thing is a freak show. And that's not a slight at carnival workers. That's just me observing the general populace of people who go to carnivals. Call it mean if you want, but tell me I'm wrong.
I think it might be a regional thing. Well, like, okay, so I was trying to think, and it just came to me what it was. I went at least in New York. I don't want to make like a huge blanket statement, but carnivals aren't really the thing. It's more festivals, right? And if you're sitting there, audience member, being like, what the hell's the difference between a carnival and a festival? Well, a carnival, in my mind, is like a low budget circus.
Yeah, basically.
And a festival is more of like they have a lot of similarities, right? There's games, sometimes there's rides. Like, I just went to a fall festival, and there were like pony rides and a petting zoo and a whole bunch of
a festival is relevant to its proximity,
yes.
Right? It's the culture of the area celebrating X, Y, or Z. The people, the places, the food, whatever it is.
Whereas like a carnival is like a permanent structure.
Well, semi-permanent.
Or like a long term.
And that's mostly just for the sake of the games and the money. So
I think most of those kind of got built into like amusement parks now. Like, we have an amusement park nearby us, like in the town that I live in, and they have like a whole carnival atmosphere there, where there's like a stage show and there's a whole bunch of games that you can play, like all the old Carney games. But there's just not.
But that's a theme park. That's an amusement park.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. it got subsumed by the theme park.
We are getting into the weeds here. We are way off topic, and
But I mean, like, why would we be doing this if we weren't going to get in the weeds?
I guess you're right. That's a podcast.
Anyway, if you have a regular carnival in your town, we mean you no harm. Enjoy it.
Meanwhile, in Dimension X, Krang is belittling Shredder for losing the crystal.
Shredder immediately throws Baxter under the bus.
I was going to say Shredder goes half-mast because that's his kink.
Well, yeah, that too. I was just amazed at, like I don't understand how why is this even a hunt? Like, why is the scavenger hunt even happening if all Shredder had to do was go to Dimension X, go to Krang, who has a convenient computer that can detect alien crystals in another dimension?
Yeah, there's a lot of plot contrivance in this one. And that's saying a lot for this series.
Like, Craig points out where it is, and Shredder's like, it's at that carnival. I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, okay, so, like, they go full Matthew Broderick on us and, like, dig into the War Games vector maps, which I'll give him this one. It's era appropriate.
That's true.
But at the same time, like, you pointed it out earlier, Shredder immediately throws Baxter under the bus. I took a different thing away from that moment. So he's got Baxter on the screen. They're video calling. They're zooming. They're Skyping.
Yep.
And Baxter's eating again. Now, that doesn't seem like a big thing, but this is one of those things I mentioned at the beginning. Like, I don't remember these little subtle character tics and a lot of the little stuff that really built up the personality of the show that I think we definitely are going to appreciate more in our 30s than we did when we were 10 or whatever. But yeah, Baxter's eating again. And I have to ask, is that like a weird foreshadowing thing? Because he's got a sandwich this time. Should we keep watching for this pattern? Because, like, is that just like fly at a picnic behavior for him?
I think so. Because, I mean, right now
it's not subtle.
Right now we're at coincidence, right? It's like 2 showings of Baxter where he's like not actively working on a project, is just like catching up with him on the side, and he is eating. The next time it's like, okay, this is a pattern. This is a character thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think we should definitely keep an eye out for that. If he does it the third time, I think it's all but guaranteed. I will also say, as someone who has worked behind a mixing board for most of their life, it's a little backwards that Shredhead is telling the allegedly genius scientist not to eat near the equipment. Like, when you work in a radio station or a mixing booth, you do not bring drinks or food anywhere near that gear. I'm having like severe doubts about the professionality of Baxter as a scientist at this point.
Give the guy a break. He's lost everything. He had a lab and a separate home in New York City, and he lost it all.
That's what you get for simping. Oh, I wanted to also mention when Shredder and Krang are going over the vector map together. I love that it has a very handy dandy receipt print feature that just pops out of Maps Quest page.
A little dot matrix printer.
That's where Shredder like deduced. He's like, yes, I know this carnival or whatever the hell he says. He read it off a friggin' CVS receipt.
I mean, I kind of love that stuff. You know, it's like when people after the fact looked at Star Wars and they're like, you know, why is this technology super old? Why are they using giant tape backups instead of, you know, the modern stuff that we have now? And it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe because it was written in the 70s and they didn't know what was happening next, you weirdos.
Yeah, why didn't they write iPads in the 80s? Or did they not know they were coming?
But you get this, like, cool mixture of Dimension X technology where he's got this awesome, you know, satellite technology from another dimension and then a dot matrix printer.
I still want to know how they got the reel-to-reel machine in the Technodrome.
I mean, I don't know. Shredder built it. He's apparently a scientist.
I will have some sort of deduction or theory by the time we're done with this series.
Also, so right now, I on my other screen, I've got the episode up, and I'm at 3:33, and I just want to take a moment to point out, like, how hilarious it is to see Krang in his body standing next to Shredder.
With his short, stubby arms.
Yes.
And that derpy-ass face. Why did they give it an Easter Island face?
That's the best part. Like, I've just had this paused on my screen for this entire last 2 minutes, and every time I look over, I just start to lose it a little bit more, because it's just like, why did they make his body, like, why did they make his belly the carrying area for the thing that already has a face? And if you were looking, which one would you look at? Would you look at the dumb face, or would you look at Craig in the belly? Like, it's so confusing.
To this day, it never made sense to me why. Because, like, yeah, eye contact, right? And he's got those, like, Geordie LaFour's fucking glasses on his face. Like, even when I, like, pivoted to the comics, you know, I knew what Krang was, and I discovered Mirage Comics at a unnecessarily young age. And I'm like, oh, look, those are like Krang. Why are they in the fucking belly, too?
And I love, like, the non-detail. Like, there's a seam for his muscles on his arm that's just, like, going up the center of his arm, so it looks like someone just took a knife. And then he's got, like, 3 lines on the top of his chest. We're like, is that supposed to be a 6-pack?
That's a vent.
But Craig's where it should be, so they had to move it up.
It's a vent. And clearly his limbs are seamed because they had to be stitched together. Remember, they had to, like, go through the stitches to get into his neck in the first.
I know. It's so funny because there's nothing consistent about it. It's like they put in all of this detail in the laziest way possible.
Listen, if this podcast ever gets serious clout and we can start, like, booking esteemed guests, I want to have on a fashion designer and a robotics engineer and say, who the hell came up with this?
Absolutely. Oh my God. I just love everything about this.
I will give it this. I foreshadowed that I am not thrilled with this episode, but it has some of the dumbest laugh out loud moments. Like, for example, this quote from Shredder.
To a carnival.
Yep.
Yeah, James Avery's, like, absolute masterful delivery continues to impress me. When I learned that he was a Shredder later on in life, I was like, oh, mind blown. But then you really go back and you can truly appreciate his performance. And he really is just excellent. He is like Nick Cage if he was the Shredder, just devouring the scenery.
Yeah, that's the best part. Every single person in this show knows what they're in and really just has a lot of fun doing it.
And thank God for it, because I will say, though, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it definitely set a higher standard for voice acting. In my experience, like, you and I, we watched a lot of cartoons. It was just part of our DNA growing up. And we were lucky enough to live through, like, the Andrew Romano era of WB and the Timverse and all that. But man, you don't get voice actors like this absolute world-class cast of, you know, legends in the industry now. Of course, we got the Rob Paulsons, and then I think we had, you know, just think about it, like Kath Soucie and Marissa Marsh, and just so many incredible voice actors that shaped our childhood. We should do a whole separate show just about voice actors.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there was a bit of time where some of these superhero cartoons got caught up in the whole, like, let's get some kind of star power to base it around. And, like, I don't know. Like, I think we should do that. We should do an episode that's just, like, centered on voice acting, because I think, like, we were definitely blessed with that Andrea Romano era. And I think, like, for me, like, the whole DCAU and this, and, like, Spider-Man the Animated Series, like, I actually...
X-Men.
See, like, X-Men is the one for me that, like, Spider-Man starts to verge on it, but I still really enjoy it. But X-Men just feels so melodramatic to me. Like, I appreciate everything that everybody is doing in that show, but the last time I tried to rewatch it, I was like, I just wanted to do a supercut of all the time Cyclops screams Jean.
Jean! 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 Oh! Jean.
Fair, but that doesn't mean the performance is bad.
No, it's not. It's
They were
just
still great cast.
yes. The cast is amazing. I guess what I'm getting at is, like, I don't know if I quite agree that we were starved. You know, that, like, we don't get these kinds of casts anymore. I think we do. I just think that they get there's an inconsistency to broadcast now that makes it harder to really latch onto these the same way. And you're seeing some of that come back in streaming now that like, I guess we're kind of like in a waning moment of streaming too, where like a lot of these companies aren't trying to build up their inventories anymore. They're cutting stuff down. But like, I don't know if I could agree with the idea that like we're not getting star-studded casts anymore when you have stuff like the Clone Wars and Young Justice.
Let me backpedal. I didn't mean to insult. What I see is there is this incredible fraternity of the mid to late 80s, early 90s crew that are super tight. The kind of guys you see show up on the Twisted Tunes table reads, and the fact that Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche are pals to this day, that kind of stuff. Now, that's not to take away from one of my absolute all-time favorite modern voice actors, Nolan North. You got the Greg Sipes. You got
Carrie Payton.
You
have people who have been around just like forever. Like Tara Strong has just been in everything.
I consider Tara Strong part of that group with Arlene Sorkin and everybody else.
She absolutely is, but she's also been the voice of like, a million things, but then consistently also Harley Quinn and Batgirl and a lot of other projects. So it kind of extends forward. But
I definitely did not intend to offend and say like there aren't good voice actors. I'm just saying there isn't a crew like there was with these guys, and they all work together and consistently work together still.
Like the Critical Role crew today.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good observation, actually.
Yeah, we should definitely do a whole thing about voiceover. For those of you who if I've not mentioned this on the show before, I'm currently training in voiceover, so I'm learning a lot about this stuff as we're going through the podcast. It's a lot of fun to like look back at these voice acting performances and look at it through a lens of what I'm currently learning.
Yeah, listen. We've established that you and I are audio nerds and voice nerds.
It's true.
So if they're still here, whatever 8 episodes in that we're at now, then bless their hearts.
Thank you very much.
There's only going to be a lot more.
Please like, share, and subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. Okay, back to the carnival. It's not hard to find. Ninjas not just of the body, but of the mind. TMNT are meandering and quipping their way up the midway at said carnival. Donnie's scratching his shell after passing the flea circus. Fun fact, turtle shells are actually very sensitive.
I missed that.
The joke about scratching his shell?
Yeah, like I missed him actually scratching it. I don't know how. I got the flea circus.
I don't know how
line,
either, because it's an absolutely terrible Foley sound effect.
I got news for you. We already did pass the flea circus.
Yep, yeah. But it's just like this whole carnival, once again, like no one cares about them.
No, they walk by and there's a mom and a kid. And what does she say? Something about eat your veggies?
She just, yep, this is what happens when you don't eat your vegetables. You turn green.
That is not the response I thought was expecting. I thought it was going to be more like, this is what happens when you drop out of school,
Yeah, and the kid says, pass the spinach.
Yeah.
So but like, it doesn't even make sense, because if you ate a lot of vegetables, that's when your color, like that's when you would turn green.
No.
Or is that a scurvy joke?
No, scurvy is because of vitamin C, and you don't turn green when you eat green. You only turn orange when you eat red.
Right. I'm just saying, like, the idea that they would, like, turn, that their skin would, I don't know. This is a funny thing to me. We should look up that guy who dyed his skin blue.
Well, he dyed it. He didn't eat his skin blue.
It's a dumb joke, I guess is what I'm saying. Which I think we're on the page here, the same page. The jokes in this episode are not quite up to the same level.
They're not good. They're not good at all. Mikey has wandered off at this point. He's playing midway games, ball games.
He has a whole crowd that he is like just killing this game at with his nunchucks, and everyone is just like, yeah, this is awesome. No one cares.
No one cares at all. It has been established that like he's been there for a minute because there's like 30 teddy bears on the ground that he has apparently won, and then he gives to April. And what is her joke? Oh, you really shouldn't have. Holy cow. Oh, I need a minute. I need a minute to sit down.
That whole part is just so lazy.
That might be one of the absolute worst jokes in the series.
We'll find out.
That's lazy. We will find out. So we got a couple of kids riding around in the merry-go-round. One looks like the bastard son of Dask the Neutrino.
Yep, he's clearly going to be a punk, and he's a punk in training. We have established that all people with weird hairdos are going to commit crime in this show.
Where did everybody get Geordie LaForge glasses in this show? Were they just handing them out like Kanye glasses on the street in New York in the 80s? What the hell? So the kids find the crystal because of course they do. And the Ninja Turtles notice, but they have doubts. Like the kids couldn't possibly have it. Donnie.
Alien tracking devices never lie.
What's your point of reference? Is there a review on Yelp for alien tracking device? What the hell?
And then I do enjoy that Raph is like, so do we knock him out?
He's like, do we jump him? And out of character, Mike's like,
I'll take the little one.
Oh, wait, they're both little.
well, I mean, if it were being consistent characterization, Raph would be the one who's ready to jump a bunch of kids.
Oh, yeah. No, it's totally within character for him to be like, and like, pause the frame on 522, and that's just like Raph for the rest of Ninja Turtles canon is just angry him pointing at somebody.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, and never does a damn thing about it. I don't know. That was again lazy writing, Larry.
Yeah.
So we got April, who's level-headed, and instead of like beating the shit out of a bunch of children, she decides to go off and talk to them.
Yep.
As a potential tween at that age, I would have been thrilled with that opportunity. Meanwhile,
I just like they're trying to hustle her, and this is a news reporter. She has a full-time job. She has $3 on her and a credit card, and she offers the credit card to the children.
not how credit cards work, but
Which I mean, like, I guess you could cancel it. That was probably the better deal.
$3 is accurate though. Let's not harp on that one. That's dead accurate.
And the best line is the kids going, "We're kids of the '80s."
No. The kids just being like,
$3? That won't buy diddly nowadays. Yeah, we're children of the 80s, remember?
and I just saying like, oh, honey, just you wait. Could you imagine nowadays if she offered them a credit card and the kid whips out a Square app on his phone?
Yeah, just PayPal me.
Just PayPal me, just Venmo me.
Oh my god.
Kind of ruins the entire plot of most TV shows, to be honest. So meanwhile, the Turtles are being mistaken for carnies by the carnival dude who runs it. I don't know. You can't call him the ringmaster. He's just the boss or whatever.
Yeah.
Leo thinks there's a mistake because, like, they're not clowns, clearly. The dude accuses them of being his missing clown act. So they're just casually walking around in not clown costumes for fun. Is that what we're taking away here?
Yeah, there's so many things here that's like, remember that their original plan that if they got stopped was to say that they were a part of the freak show.
Didn't have to. Someone beat them to it.
They get to a point where somebody is like, hey, you're the next act. And they don't even, like, they don't remember that their plan was to say they were in the freak show. They just go, oh, no, I'm sorry, sir. I think you're mistaken.
I mean, this show has a history of short-term memory, but I mean, it's about a 30-second lapse with these guys in this episode of what their mission is and what they're en route to, and just gone.
And, like, it just goes to show again that, like, nobody in this version of New York City cares or, like, is bothered by anything because they just immediately jump to, like, well, there has to be a logical explanation for these people, and clearly they're employees of mine. I definitely have seen them before.
But okay, so even why are they just swapping if they're in their off time? Let's assume that he's presuming that they're down. Why are they in costume and not their own if they're there to be clowns, they're clearly not clowns.
He tells them to leave the turtle costumes at home next time. It's like, has somebody done this before? Do you have turtle costumes that this was normal?
I want the story behind that. Why is this such a normalized thing?
And I don't get me wrong, like, I'm sure you have. I know I have actually been in the situation where someone has mistaken me for someone who works somewhere.
You wore a blue shirt into Best Buy?
No. Actually, this is even weirder. I was at my local grocery store, and there was a woman there who was like, could you help me find this thing? And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know where that is. And she was like, she got on my case and was like, how could you do this? How could you not help me? That's really bad customer service. And I'm like, I do not work here. Oh, now you're lying to me? I'm going to find your boss.
Go for it.
Go for it. I don't work here.
I would follow her around for the rest of the day. Anyways,
So, I mean, some people can buy themselves into believing anything, but it's just amazing to me that this guy would be like, these guys look weird. I must have hired them.
I mean, there is a little bit of logic to that, but regardless, we have found our going to LaGuardia moment of the episode.
You're going to LaGuardia, right?
My absolute favorite was the punchline of this, where he goes, "The only mistake I made was hiring you geeks." And it was a very accurate use of the word geek. According to the dictionary, a geek is in fact a performer at a carnival or circus whose show usually consists of bizarre or grotesque acts like biting the heads off chickens.
Well, good job on the carny.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Like that's probably the best bit of writing in this entire episode, to be honest.
And then we actually see them perform, and they don't dress as clowns.
Yeah, they drive into the freaking clown car and not in clown costumes. I distinctly remember them being directed to wear clown costumes. Or at the very least, not turtle costumes.
And, like, the plant and the ladder, this is really minute, but we're doing a lot of minute things this episode. You'll have to forgive me. How do they grow?
I've abandoned all minutia at this point. My notes for the next 35 seconds are just hijinks ensue.
Okay, cool. I get that it's like a carnival performance and suspension of disbelief, but when I read the description about a plant growing, and then I saw a plant grow in the circus, and I was like, oh, that's not the plant they made. There's a different plant.
Yeah, that's an absolute throwaway. But I mean, fuck physics, am I right? All right, so the kids have refused the money. Even though April's waving cash at him, which I'm pretty sure would get her escorted off the premises. Here's another one. A misremembering of mine, and I'm bringing this up late in the episode, but like Baxter is just Shredder's lapdog in the early seasons, and I don't remember that. You know, for me, the broad stroke is like Shredder, Bebop, and Rocksteady, right?
Yeah.
And then Baxter shows up more than a few occasions, but he becomes the Fly, and that's his ultimate takeaway. But like, the fact that Baxter is tagging along and not just like call him up on the phone for gear kind of thing, he's following Shredder around like a puppy.
Yeah, I definitely like, and maybe this changes later on, but I had in my head that like Bebop and Rocksteady were always the henchmen for Shredder.
We haven't seen him in like 2 episodes.
Nope. Yeah, they're just completely gone for this season because Krang's like, no, I don't want Shredder to have any help.
That's a good point. But he lets Baxter happen. So, like,
yeah,
I don't get it. Anyways, I just thought that was kind of funny, like a ninja and a scientist as a duo. Like a weird love song that nobody ever wrote. I just don't remember his involvement.
Ninja and a scientist.
Coming to Broadway this summer. Back to the circus. The turtles are rolling around doing weird shit. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that April's backstage somehow.
Yep.
And then Mike kind of rolls out of the ring while he's doing his act, and April immediately asks him for money. Let that sink in. Just give it a minute. She's not only asking a teenager, but an anthropomorphic turtle teenager. Teenagers don't have money. Pretty sure ninjas don't have money. Definitely sure mutants don't have money.
Mutants who live in the sewers.
And then I thought the joke was going to end when Mikey says, I left my wallet in the other shell, and he is somehow holding paper. How did he get that?
Yep. We have already asked the question of like, how do the turtles actually get all the things that they have? And we assume it was through like dumpster diving or, you know, like, I don't know, people drop change and shit all the time, but like they have an income.
Mikey's got a wad. Like it's got to be at least what, $20 to justify incentivizing the kids. I mean, I'm reaching outside of the box here, but like
it's more than $3.
It's more than $3. So how are the unemployed mutant teenagers living in the sewers of New York holding more paper than April? April is a terrible economist. That's the answer.
Yep. And she's very one-track mind. Like she is on the case. She is like, I'm going to get this crystal from these kids and nothing can stop me. Not even the fact that when we first got to this place, I pointed out to the turtles that they should not be walking around because they would be found out. And now they are performing in front of everyone.
But she does not rub their faces in it. We just move on from that plot point.
Yep. She doesn't. She's like, all right, I'm a New Yorker. I don't care.
I mean, if she's living off $3, then yeah, she's got bigger fish to fry. But working as a journalist in the 80s, that's actually a pretty generous paycheck. Okay, so we got sneaky boy Shredder. He jumps out, jumps a bunch of kids, has no shame, grabs a crystal, and the kid, where'd you come from? Dimension X.
In a far-off galaxy.
No, that's not it.
And the kid says, you didn't scare us. Well, he didn't say it in a way that was scary. He got very whimsical for some reason.
He waxes poetic for a second there. He even looks up to the stars.
Like he was trying to impress the children.
They're kids. They don't give a shit. They're not impressed by money. They're not impressed by magic crystals. They're not going to be impressed by our other planet.
And the kid goes, we've seen Star Trek.
That was a risky move on their part. I'm surprised they didn't get in trouble for that.
We see every episode of Star Trek in 1987.
Wait, that was all CBS.
Yeah.
So they could drop a Star Trek joke. That's how they got the licensing for the action figures. Damn it. Remember when they did Trekkie crossover Turtles, and I think Donnie was Spock and Leo was obviously Shatner, and yeah, god damn it. Now I did not piece that together until this exact moment in 2022. So this ballsy kid, way ballsier than the Turtles, stomps Shredder's foot like the goddamn Three Stooges. Shredder tosses a crystal, Baxter catches it, and this is the most uncomfortable joke in the series so far. Shredder says, "Good catch, Baxter," and Baxter says,
You must admit I do have soft hands.
Yes, and a head to match.
Yep.
You got any profound takeaway to that? Because my skin's just crawling.
I mean, the fact that Baxter says he has soft hands, or that Shredder responds with yes and a soft head.
Yeah, that Shredder agreed. But more importantly, how did he get that information? Are he and Baxter and Krang a throuple?
Oh, man. It just gets worse.
Answers I don't want. These are all rhetorical. I do not want answers to this. Do not tweet at us your weird Shredder fantasies. Please do. So we cut to another one of Baxter's miraculous ramshackle warehouse labs that he can just pop up.
Got them all over the city.
They're analyzing the crystal with robot arms and lasers, because obviously. The crystal gets knocked loose and it bounces off the floor and it scrapes some suspiciously green mud off of Shredder's boot. And then Baxter wipes it off and the tissue with the goop on it, the mud on it, starts glowing. So obviously this is mud from Dimension X. And at this point, it just my notes just bracket logic. Let's make a mutant plant.
I get the idea that I love the idea that each different crystal has a different ability. It keeps things interesting in terms of oh, what is this? What's the monster of the week this week kind of thing, right? You got the first one that shrank things. You have this one that makes things bigger. Cool. Buy it. Totally get it. These are supposed to be our number one villain, who is a ninja scientist, and his best friend, possibly more, scientist acquaintance. And the whole, we are halfway through the episode, nearly. We are in 10 minutes into this episode, and the way they create the monster of the week is by pure happenstance. They just stumble upon a mutating crystal and the plant because doofus Shredder didn't check his feet when he came back for the Dimension X.
Yeah, I really don't have a takeaway on that one. It is just kind of like the perfect 80s conflict MacGuffin. Magic crystal. How many? Okay. I feel like we need to I'm going to put a poll up sooner or later about how many times a magic crystal has been a MacGuffin in a TV show or a movie.
Or just in Ninja Turtles. We got 2 in the second season.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, we'll start somewhere.
And we know there's another one.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, moving forward, Turtles are back at the lair and declaring their utter failure to master Splinter. And he's all, back there, scrubs. Go find it. Raph grabs the crystal and opens it. The tracking crystal, right?
Yep.
He opens it up like a book Did we already always know that this thing had compartments or was like a device? Is this just like a cell phone or a Garmin?
Nope. And this is another one of those things where Donnie says, like, I'm pretty sure the batteries are dead, which you would think is just like a passing comment to be like, it's not working anymore. It must have run out of power.
But it pulls out batteries.
No, it literally has a battery.
But then we never touch on that again. We just move on.
Yeah, Raph just opens it up like he just, oh yeah, obvious. I knew I had to do this. Pulls out a thing that he calls quadruple Z batteries, which fair play to you. That's a fun joke.
Sure.
And then yeah, it just disappears and they never talk about it again.
Larry.
This episode of all the episodes so far is just page after page of contrivance.
Oh, that's not. We need to invent like a new word for the level of contrivance. All I have to say at this point is crystals
Do not work that way. Good night.
But more importantly, the absolute worst written character in this episode is Splinter. Why? Because he is the omen of the end of the world. Every time he says something bad, it happens. Splinter sets up, we'll learn more soon about this crystalline plant. Right on cue. Lair starts shaking like a high school bop. And the mutant plant is just ready, I guess, now. We've had 30 whole seconds between them being like, well, let's make a mutant plant. And there it is, busting through the door. I wish my garden grew like that. I didn't even get tomatoes this year.
It is a level of convenience that I feel like any logical person would be like, starting to get, Splinter, you're pretty sus right now.
I mean, his timing is impeccable. But like, okay, so a bunch of vines break through the wall. And like, honestly, that could just be something that grew in the sewers. It doesn't have to have anything to do with Dimension X at this point.
True.
Mikey gets all excited. He recalls invasions of the mean green giant killer beanstalk. And I had to go back and watch it like 5 times and then turn the captions on to understand what the hell he was saying.
And he even makes he breaks the fourth wall to be like, didn't think I could say that, did you?
What was the joke there? Is it because it's a tongue twister?
Yeah. Or like, it definitely, he says it as if this is a real movie that the audience would know and be like, oh yeah, man, that movie was notoriously hard to say.
Yeah, that's not a good joke, Larry. It's not a good joke.
I feel like this is going to be our catchphrase. Just like every episode from now on, that's not a good joke, Larry, whether or not he wrote it.
God damn it, Larry. I'm gonna turn that into a soundbite. My next note just says the plant barks.
Yep. Well, there's a lot of problems with this plant, as we will see later.
Sure, but it barks like a dog.
I think I missed the barking because I was too surprised by Leo trying to get April out of the way by saying,
Stand back, April. This is no Mother's Day plant.
What? Is she a mom?
I guess wouldn't Valentine's Day be an easier joke to swallow? Like a Valentine's Day bouquet? These are Valentine's Day roses. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, Larry.
That would have been a much better line and also a little less misogynistic.
Very true. I mean, she is kind of surrogate mom for this in this episode, or this series, I should say.
That is true. I thought that, especially in the pilot season, and the first episode of this season, I thought they did a pretty good job of making April like an ally and not like a mom.
She is so useless in this episode, it's not even funny.
I know. And it feels like a kind of like a betrayal to the character thus far. Like so many times in the beginning, in the show so far, she has been like the source of information. She's been the smart one. She's been the one like helping the turtles strategize, or she's been driving or whatever, and she literally takes a back seat. Almost literally, she's in the side of the humongous van. This entire episode, this like everything about April in this episode is completely contrary to what they had already established.
Everybody's character is contrary in this episode. It just, honest to God, everyone took stupid pills before they went out searching for the ISR nav. I mean, especially Leo. Like, the plant's invading the lair. This one's on me. Yeah, Knifey, let's get to pruning. Where the fuck you been?
Also, like, do you think that this show is the reason why every other Turtles production has a moment where they have to move?
Like, get a different layer? No,
yeah.
that's just trying to sell more toys.
Because I think it's totally crazy that they keep getting attacked in their own home and they don't move.
That's true. I mean, so in the movies, they move from the original layer, which is like a pressure area, like a venting area for the sewers, and then they move to the train station, which, fight me, that's the best Turtles lair ever.
It's also a real place.
I would live there. It's also a real place. That's very true. Even in like the comics in like 2003, at one point they move into a church in Central Park. They live in a water tower for a minute during City at War.
Yeah.
Or Return to New York. I take it back. And yeah, they've had a handful of layers.
Or even like go into hiding. Like, you know, does this version of the Ninja Turtles have a Northampton?
I was just gonna say it. And the 1987 guy's gonna go have an existential crisis on a farm in Boston, in Massachusetts.
I would love to know that. Like, watch when we finally get to like the Red Sky episodes. They're like, all right, it's been 10 years. Let's go to Massachusetts.
I always thought the whole Northampton story arc was one of the best moments in Turtles in every iteration, but we'll get into that another day.
Yeah.
Okay, the plant grabs April, drops her. They quickly dispatch it. It runs away. It's a pointless fight. But we do get to be introduced, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, to the first time Michelangelo uses one of my absolute favorite catchphrases,
Mondo Bizarro.
Yeah, I don't remember that one from any of the other episodes so far.
That is, I mean, it definitely recurs to the series, and it definitely still kind of lives rent-free in my head when something goes wrong in life. I don't say it out loud because I'm not a sociopath, but like, I definitely in my head, like, oh, I just dropped that plate and it shattered. Mondo Bizarro. That's a bad example. Let me back up. I'm trying to think of a good one.
All right, folks, this is your homework. I want you to find a time to just say Mondo Bizarro and let us know if you get arrested.
Well, like if you walk down on St. Mark's Place for like 5 minutes, you're going to come across somebody that'll make you say Mondo Bizarro. Say that with love in my heart.
The way
Get
you
your
said
freak
it,
on.
like, I don't say it out loud because I'm not a sociopath. So I'm like, you know what? Everyone, give it a try. Just drop Mondo Bizarro once at some point in your life and let us know if you still have a family.
Normalize Mondo Bizarro. We need new slang. Oh, and as soon as Mikey drops that, we go back and Splinter gives us another bad omen. He says, we haven't seen the last of it. And I'm just like, shut up! Splinter, have we learned nothing? You're apparently the harbinger of the horsemen. Shut up! Also, he's inexplicably an expert on Dimension X fauna all of a sudden. The many strange... What does he say? Help me.
He says he has access. The Turtles ask, like, do you think the Shredder could be behind this plant? And Splinter says, it's highly possible he has access to Dimension X, where many strange organisms abound.
Many strange organisms. You know this for a fact.
Which is definitely like, Splinter is just trying to sound smart, right? Like, there's no way he could know that, but, I mean, if you found out about the existence of another dimension and then you saw literally anything strange, you'd be like, yeah, it's probably from there.
I mean, yeah, he's not wrong, but also he spoke it with such conviction that I just have to be like, challenging your authority on this one. They relegate April to the guy in the chair position because they need her on comms while they go into battle, and she wants to go, and she's sad she can't go.
And again, this is another one of those moments that, like, they don't even say that, like, no, April, you can't come with us. It's getting too dangerous. Which, the fact that she just got attacked by a man-eating plant, that I would buy. You know, like, oh, they're concerned for her. They don't want her to get in trouble. She can't fight for herself, at least in this, you know, she doesn't have two swords strapped to her back all the time.
Yeah.
No, it's, oh, we need you on the turtle comm. Why? You didn't ask her to do anything. You didn't ask her to, like, go research something or, like, try and find out where Shredder is so that she could contact them and be like, oh, you need to go to this place. We just need you on comms. It's just so lazy.
That's the takeaway from this episode. It's very lazy. And it gets worse.
It gets incredibly worse because essentially the only reason for the Turtles to tell her, no, we don't want you with us, is so that the plot can have her kidnapped later on.
Yeah, okay, so Baxter's he's getting reamed by Shredder at this point for failing. I I want to ask why Baxter's calling Shredder Master. Is that just because he told him it's his first name? Because he's not a student.
No, he's been doing that in previous episodes.
No, I know, and that's why I'm asking why.
I don't know. I guess because he's a sensei. Like, it's the best thing I can think of.
I don't call my boss Master.
Well, your boss isn't a ninja master.
That I know
He's
of.
not a sense. He doesn't teach. Does he teach you ninjutsu?
It'd be a lot cooler if he did.
Yeah. More bosses. Teach your employees ninjutsu.
I would love. You went to a kickboxing class tonight. I want to learn. I want to learn karate. I never learned karate when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, you should go do it. I'm just saying, don't expect it from your boss.
I'm too old. I can't do that
We're
shit.
the same age.
You're in better shape.
I am definitely not.
We're not getting into this. April is moping around with Irma because she couldn't go along with turtles. I don't know. Okay, is Irma one of the absolute best 80s stereotypes or one of the absolute worst aging stereotypes as a horny spinster?
Pretty much every note I've had for Irma thus far in this podcast is Irma is thirsty as fuck.
Yeah. And she's complaining about how Byrne wants her to publish a story. But, like, I'm unclear. What is Irma's job? Because last time we saw her, I thought she was reception.
Yeah, I thought she was a secretary.
I mean, the toy, I think, had a headset that came with it. Or we've definitely seen episodes later on in the series where she's wearing a headset like a producer.
Yeah.
So I think Irma's just like utility. Do whatever you want. Anyways, there's a knock on the door and a note left from, quote, the Turtles who need help. They just got done saying they need her on the comms. Why would they go and ask for help with a sheet of paper on a door in stealth mode?
Yep. You hit the nail on the head.
It gets worse.
April has access to one of the few wireless communication devices available
in the world at that moment.
That they explicitly told her is how they would be communicating with her. And she's just like, yeah, okay, this has got to be them.
Yeah, they'd leave a note instead of calling like they said they would.
Also, where are they? Are they at April's house?
No, they're at Irma's place.
So Shredder's just been stalking her this whole time.
So yeah, like, okay, Irma says, you're always talking about those turtles, April. You were supposed to keep them secret. But okay, let's just backpedal because she says, oh, they're just figments of my imagination. You are exhibiting signs of bipolar disorder, sweetheart. You really got to get your origin check.
Yeah. Just I will say, when I first rewatched this, I came out of it being like, okay, that was pretty enjoyable, but I have some things that I want to, so I have some notes. And now, like, going through it again and talking about it is like, man, this is an awful episode.
Yeah, this episode took a nosedive. It started out fine, but then it just got weird and contrived and lazy and all the things we already mentioned. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Generally, if you're supposed to be on the telephone with a bunch of standby ninjas, don't go gossip with your friends while you're waiting with the phone on the table.
Yep.
I have so many problems with this episode. Obviously, the note is from Shredder for anybody watching over the age of fetus. How did Shredder know where they were? How does Shredder know where any of them live? Is it because of his giant network of closed circuit TVs all over New York City?
Gotta be, right? He can broadcast to any television.
Okay, so let's go back to the welcome. Welcome to the carnival, right?
All right, yeah.
I'm watching with subs this time because, as I mentioned, I had a hard time hearing a couple of things earlier on. I wanted to clarify some notes about like the title of that TV show that Mikey was talking about. And so subs are on. April O'Neil is spelled with 2 L's.
Huh.
2 L's in the O'Neil, I should specify. Never
in
realized
the
that.
subtitles?
Isn't it it's supposed to be? It's supposed to, yeah, in the subs or in the captions.
Yeah.
Isn't it supposed? It's supposed to be 1.
Yeah. No, I will go to my grave that it's 1L.
Called a bug. All right, so April goes and obviously Shredder grabs the comm offer, calls the Turtles. Turtle comm rings. Donnie picks it up. April, is that you? Who the fuck else would it be? Oh, right.
Everything is just setting up for punchlines at this point. Even before April comes in, like, Turtles, are you here?
No, but I am.
Yeah, but I'm okay. Again, James Avery absolutely chewing the scenery. We get a fun little split screen that I did enjoy of Shredder on the phone with Donnie taunting him with like Donnie's on the top with Leo, and then Raph peeks into the frame and Shredder's on the bottom. And it's just like a classic phone call scene of like teenagers calling each other. I don't know. I like that. He tells the turtles, "Come get April, you chodes." I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah. Wish that was the line.
Come to Dock Street. And I looked this up. There is a Dock Street. It's called the Dock Street STEAM School. So it's like, this is a real place. It teaches science, tech, engineering, arts, math. That's what STEAM stands for. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It does exist in Brooklyn.
All right. So they are in Brooklyn. We've confirmed.
We are definitely in Brooklyn, and we're at the specific address that Shredder laid out for them and said, "Come here," and the turtles say, "We're coming." Mikey wants to delay the rescue of April by getting a pizza, and then Leo pivots that into them dressing as pizza delivery boys in disguise to sneak up on Shredder, but he already said come, and they're like, "We're here."
Yep.
This is the closest. This is peak worst ninjas ever. But I'm also giving it a / an attempt was made.
Shredder tells them to come. They say they are heading there right now. They stop at a pizzeria to get several pizzas and uniforms, drive there, ring the doorbell, and then the two villains who are expecting 4 turtles look through the peephole on the door, and Baxter says, "Oh, it's 4 green pizza delivery guys."
Shredder has the best line in the series right here. It's straight up Laurel and Hardy.
I don't remember ordering any pizzas, especially green ones.
Amazing. Just.
Oh, my God. I think I know what it is.
You almost saved the episode.
Everyone in New York City is turtle blind. They just can't see them. That has to be the reason. You're expecting 4 turtles and 4 green dudes, and they didn't even cover their faces.
Not even a little bit. I would have had like caps on. And it doesn't matter because they kicked the fucking door in anyways. There's no point to the disguise. They were in disguise for 3 steps from the van to the door.
It's so fun watching as the clothes peel off Raph as he kicks the door in.
Okay, and we get into some more severe mischaracterization because Mikey just grabs a pizza and smashes it into Baxter's face. I don't know about you, but when I was watching that in real time, like just this afternoon, I thought he was going to hit him with a brick because it's like a Sicilian pizza, so it's like square. And he just smashes it on him. Like there was a minute where I literally flinched. I'm like, "Oh shit, Mikey's getting real."
It took a very sudden change.
If he didn't bash Baxter's head in with a brick, I'm like, I'm here. I am in it.
Yeah, the animation of the way that pizza box is drawn, it's such an odd angle that it looks more like a rectangle. So it absolutely looks like a white brick.
It looks like a brick. And then Shredder follows up with the, "It'll take more than a pizza with extra olives to stop me." How do you feel about olives?
They're fine.
Do you like them on pizza?
No.
I like black olives.
I like black olives. I guess I haven't really tried the mud pizza, if I'm being honest.
I'm only asking because I live with a woman who is staunchly against olives, and I struggle with it every day. All right. They fight. Leo frees April. Donnie gets a nice shot off on Shredder, but there's apparently enough time for Shredder and Baxter to make it to the window and escape because Raph was doing dick.
Yep. Oh, bummer. They got away. We didn't do anything.
You could have done something about that.
Everybody else had a job but you.
Plant is back, re-enters the scene, and is now ripping up Midtown. Leo goes full Batman at this point.
We'll need some anti-plant firing power. Battle stations, everyone.
Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray.
And then also it's just a sword. That's their anti-plant power is just in stabbing things.
Yeah, they would have been better off all being wielding scissors in this episode, let's be honest. Here is the absolute highlight in the entire episode, and it is Raph in the gunner chair from the party wagon, just laying waste. Just laying waste. But now the plant has a head, though, and it's just Audrey 2 with like 20 eyes.
I got the clip just now of the gunner position popping out of the side of the van, and man, that is a cool toy.
I'm here for that. Always here for that. They use it not enough.
But yeah, it's my exact notes. As I was watching this, are oh shit, it's Audrey 2.
Feed me Seymour. Feed me all night long.
Yeah, with not even subtle. The thing starts eating the van, but then for whatever reason decides to use trash cans to slow down the turtles instead of just swallowing them whole. Okay.
Yep.
And then retreats underground for no real reason.
And Mikey freaks out about it.
Yeah, he gets real mad. He gets big mad.
He freaks out about the plant going to the sewers, and I once again wrote, "My brother and pizza, it literally started there. Why are you this upset?"
The sanctity of our home?
It literally started by invading your home.
Yeah, another inconsistency. Did not piece that together in my real-time notes, but yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. It's all bullshit. Turtles say, let's grab Splinter and follow it. Splinter says, start at the root. And by the root, he means follow its snot trail.
Yep. Literally find its roots.
So they wander down the sewer. It's clearly slinked behind a wall because it has to bust through a wall every time it enters a scene.
Splinter does have some real teacher vibes here, though. This is a known strategy where you do not give your students the answer, but you lead them to the conclusion so that they can get to the conclusion themselves. So he just speaks in questions and been like, yeah, you gotta find the root of the problem. And like, oh, right. It's a plant. Plants have roots. Like, there you go, buddy. You did it. Good job.
Splinter, you may have a fetish about the Riddler, but lives are at stake here. Can we get to the point? So, plants busted through. Audrey's busted back through the wall and immediately gets back to work. Leo calls for the secret weapon.
Yep. Here we go.
Spoilers. It's Mikey in a disguise. In like a plant tutu with like plant head dressing, being a sexy lady plant.
Yep, he just straight up cross dresses as a female plant.
Mikey is the Bugs Bunny of the Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
Do we need to start tracking his dress up game though? Because like all the turtles, they've been punks, they've been in trench coats, but Mikey now has been a plant lady and the Shredder.
Yeah.
There's another thing about the series that I do not recall was costumes.
And yet, even with those two costumes, like, I don't remember a Mikey as Shreddy action figure or a Mikey in plant hula or however you want to refer to it that isn't horrible.
NECA, if you need any ideas for toys,
there you go.
The plant is all about it. Instantly horny as hell over Mikey in drag. And then we got another moment of absolute waste. He gets into this disguise and they're supposed to what? Distract it, seduce it, and he bops it on the nose and they just fight.
Yeah. They just stab the thing to death.
They don't even stab it to death. Leo stabs it once.
Where they just yes, Mikey immediately breaks the disguise as soon as it comes near him, and then they just start beating the shit out of it.
Like they kind of swat the tentacles or the vines a little bit, but Leo goes to the root and then stabs it in the stem. That's not the root.
Yep. And then it shrivels up and dies.
Yeah, it just deflates like a friggin' balloon.
It's just like the weirdest thing. And like, don't get me wrong, I get that there's like a whole history of Looney Tunes, especially of like characters cross-dressing in order to seduce the villain or whatever. But the fact that this like Moss from Dimension X is just like immediately horny. What are you doing?
Look, I can live with immediately horny if Mikey actually committed. Like Bugs Bunny at least flirted with Elmer Fudd. Mikey just shows up and is like, nah, I'm not doing this.
What are you doing, Larry? What are you doing?
God damn it. So that's it. Like, that's the end of the episode. Turtles take a deserved pizza break back at the lair, topped with, and I quote, everything but green vegetables. And then April brings them a little plant, which then bites Mikey on the nose because he didn't know it was a Venus flytrap. Venus cameo confirmed. 87 set the new canon.
Yeah, so all you people could get angry about it in retrospect.
Because, we don't like girl turtles. Screw you. Jenica's one of the best written turtles in comics right now. Or best written characters in comics right now.
She's great. They really did it. Well, we will talk about, this is a thing that we could cut.
It's hard to resist, honestly.
We could cut this out. This is just for us, but if we ever do like a Patreon thing, we should do mini episodes about comic issues or watching the movies or whatever. Like those are all like the things that are on the side from like the animated series we can spin off into like Patreon goals.
So maybe those are like our holiday specials.
Yeah, exactly.
So like we'll do the voice actor special, we'll do the 90s movie special, we'll do the where we are as readers of the IDW presently special, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So my takeaway after all this is this episode is filler. Even though it is in the middle of a trilogy of an overarching plot, we never hear about the word of Sarnath again this entire episode. Like they quickly abandon the crystal and it's just stop the plant. They had a bad joke quota. Larry, I'm disappointed in you. Dan, how do you feel about this one? I'm struggling with it.
I mean, it was never going to be as good as pretty much every episode we've watched thus far. I think I came into it with like, what's our rating again? We have Cowabunga at the top.
Cowabunga,
and then there's
excellent, Chevy Nova, Bossa Nova.
Yeah, I came in at Chevy Nova. This is definitely Bossa Nova.
I was going to give it Chevy Nova just for Shredder's pun and Raphael's sharpshooting. Those moments were cool enough that I went, yeah, I forgive it.
It was, I think for me, it was one of those things that like when I watched it at just like face value, I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say like, oh man, this was terrible. Like it was relatively enjoyable. I sat through it and walked away being like, that was fun. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was just like, wait, this has so many problems.
Yeah, this is hands down one of the worst written episodes so far. I'm saving my Bossa Novas for the Red Sky season. But Larry, I'm disappointed.
All right, so we'll give it the Chevy Nova. I can agree to that. I enjoyed it enough. It doesn't have to be in the basement.
Good enough. So what is your takeaway from this one? Is there a moral to follow on? Because like, I don't know. This one is so messy that it's, in my mind, it's either about due diligence and Splinter's quote about going to the root of a problem. And it's a methodical episode. They're in a pursuit. They have steps to take. And there's just a lot of very slow moving plot, and that could just be bad writing, but it could be because they're trying to be careful. I don't know. Is it maybe it's just things are not always what they seem?
This is definitely the hardest one so far because I feel like all the other ones for like, again, we get it, people. We get it. This is a kid show. We're looking too into it. Congratulations. This is what you signed up for.
This is podcasting 101.
Like, get over it.
Yeah.
But like every other episode did kind of feel like it had a through line, did feel like it had a moral to the story kind of thing. And this one just doesn't feel like that to me. It feels so sloppy and all over the place that like it does. I don't think it has a through line. It just feels like a means to an end of like, well, we got to do another crystal thing. Let's do the crystal thing. And we'll, like, I guess Larry watched Little Shop of Horrors the night before and took a shortcut.
I mean, Larry, you got good reference material, but like, you got to do something original with it, friend.
Yeah, it just feels like this is the most stereotypical of any of the episodes we've seen so far. April does nothing but get in trouble. Shredder is like the campiest he has ever been.
Yeah.
Splinter has the wise sayings that are like literally face value. They're not even like, they're things said in a riddle form so that he sounds smart, but they're not actually smart observations.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm cutting down on it really hard now, but like I think every other episode thus far did have like a moral to it, did have a story to it, and this one just feels like, yeah, like what can you pull from it? What did you pull from it?
That maybe this is about like things just aren't always what they seem, because the only through line I can find is like this MacGuffin crystal that makes shit do plot contrivances. That's it. Like this is a filler episode. This is the first real weak step in the series so far. It's fine. They get worse. This is far from the worst, but it's like the first time in such a strong first season and beginning of the second season with an overarching trilogy arc that you just kind of go, I don't need this one.
It just feels like nothing actually happens. You know, like they find this crystal, these two kids have it, because like they found it on the floor. No one really knows how to deal with these children, and like even Shredder gets owned by them. He just like accidentally gets the crystal because he throws it up and Baxter grabs it, and then it's just like race to the finish on, oh man, like no one really feels in trouble. No one really... No.
The crystal does nothing truly threatening. Like the giant plant is because Shredder and Baxter engineered it. They could have done that any number of ways. The crystal has no point in this episode.
Like if you want a better version of this episode, it's when the rock soldiers come through.
Absolutely, 100% true.
Because there's like a whole other thing that happens, and then the whole city's put at risk because of the Weather Dominator thing, and you know there's villains besides Krang and Shredder and all that stuff, and it's like they literally just took the script from that episode and then made it campier.
We are being awfully harsh on this one. I'm just going to kind of take a breath, take a step back. Far from the worst. Again, far from the worst. I still had some fun.
Oh, yeah.
I still love Turtles. This did not ruin anything for me, but it's weak.
No, it's definitely fun. Like it's a fun episode at face value, but it does like, I think what has surprised me thus far, and we're only like 8 episodes in, what has surprised me thus far is that the first 7 episodes really did feel like they had a little bit of a deeper heart, and then this one is just face value, and that's fine. Like there could be filler episodes, there could be episodes where it's just like, you know what, we're gonna have some fun mutant mayhem, and that's pretty much what this is.
Yeah, but don't land it in the middle of a trilogy.
Yeah,
there should have been some kind of plot. There should have been some plot.
Especially because it ends the same way that the first one did, where like you're not even really sure that this is a continuation.
Yeah, we're just not done yet. The end. I'm looking forward to the next episode. I have a good feeling that it is going to kind of tie things back up. We're going to see some kind of progress, some kind of plot. But we'll see in a week.
Yeah, we will see next time.
Until then, we'll leave you with this one piece of advice. Lao Tzu once said, "The journey of 1,000 pies begins with one slice." And we will see you as the path continues.
Thanks.
Cowabunga, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Duderonomy is produced by Brian Van Gelder and me, Dan Spitaleri. Brian edits and mixes the show and also designed our show art. Our theme music is composed by Mario Sello Nuñez. You can hear more of his music on Spotify, which we've linked to in the show notes. Find us on Twitter at Duderonomy_TMNT and send email to Duderonomy.tmnt@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Cowabunga!